Hi guys, it's Deborah. Welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some very practical tips that I implemented when I first started alternate day fasting, especially in that first week when you're facing so many challenges. So if you're ready to get started, ready to get your boots on the ground, let's talk about these amazing strategies that can help you as well. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Deborah. Welcome to my channel. So I've been doing alternate day fasting for over 80 days. I follow a fairly strict alternate day fasting protocol, and I explain the framework that I've built around this in several of my other videos. And in those other videos, I share quite a bit of information around setting up that framework and the practicalities in terms of the mental preparation that I believe is really essential to implementing an alternate day fasting lifestyle to be successful in reaching whatever goals you want for yourself. So outside of the mental prep that I believe goes into implementing an alternate day fasting lifestyle, which I would say, in my personal opinion, is about 80 to 90% of the work. And I advocate that. I talk about that in all my other videos because I believe building that structure is incredibly important to being successful on an alternate day fasting journey. Hi guys, so just before I get into sharing these practical tips that I know will help you, and you can just take what works for you and leave the rest. But before I start, I just wanted to share a little bit more about the building the alternate day fasting framework, that I used when I got started, which I believe was instrumental in me being successful. I'm now 80 days into alternate day fasting, and I believe that that structure that I built has carried me through, and I often refer to it still almost every single day. So what I did was, in those days, I just took some paper and I was just chicken scratches on a piece of paper. I had drawn from years of experience using these strategies in my life, from my career and from other areas of my life that I wanted to build a successful whatever. And it has worked so well. But in the days that I was doing it, I just used, a notepad and I just let it all flow. But what I've done since then is I put together a very practical guide and created this document, a booklet, a workbook. And so I have created this workbook, and I have shared it on my Patreon channel, which is Deb Does ADF. And I'll just give you a little glimpse of this guide, because I think that if you're just getting started and you just want to go, this guide can be really instrumental in helping you do that. So here, I'll share this with you. So this is the document. It's Alternate Day Fasting Success Guide, and I built it for it to be for 7 days, and I'll just share a little bit more of the contents. So in the booklet, I have just a little bit about me and how I got started on alternate day fasting, and then I share the information that I used in terms of creating a success plan and how I've just kind of put it into a synopsis of the really important information that I believe can help you create your own success plan. And then following that, after the success plan, I have an actual worksheet, that just breaks it down. And this declaration, this statement is something that is precious, and it will be close to you through those 7 days. So I just made it all nice and fancy because, I like that. This is something, I didn't have the time to do this, but this was a fun project for me. So there's that. And then I've also implemented a journal. So just kind of, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, till day 7. But I've also created this daily tracker. And in this tracker, I've broken it down into your fasting window and your eating window, your fasting window, your eating window. And each box represents 1 hour. And I can tell you that there were times where I literally had to go hour by hour. And I didn't have something like this. I had a different thing. I also ended up getting an app, which is another amazing thing. But having this sitting in front of me, even if I was in my car or I was at work, just being able to mark off, okay, I've done. And then you start to see, oh my God, I've done all these hours. And then also in this shaded area, which is actually pink, but I just did this in black and white, and that's all you have to do. So in there, I have the 20 to 24 hour mark, which is what I call the red zone for most people. And this isn't going to apply to everybody, but it's around that stage that hormones, especially your ghrelin level, is just, everything is ramped up, and it's really intense in those hours. And so knowing that that is coming, and I'm going to share these practical tips that can help you work through the red zone, because it is an intense time. For me, it was a solid 4 hours of really applying this mental game and using your success declaration to say, no, I can do, you know what I mean? It was a real process. And I think having this right in front of you can go a long way to just, compartmentalizing each step of that process. So yeah, if you're interested in that booklet, I have put it up on my Patreon page, which is Deb Does ADF. So if you would like to have that, that's where you go to get it. And if you do get it, I thank you for your support in that. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so my first practical tip for your first 7 days is really important to set the tone of the environment for those 7 days. So not everybody has the luxury of, just going into a bubble, as it were. I kind of did, but there were some things that had come up for me in my life in terms of family and travel and being around food and all that. And it's definitely doable. But I would highly suggest, if you can, to set aside a chunk of time, a 7-day period where you can, function in your normal everyday life, not like just before you're going to give a big presentation at work, or it's one of your children's birthdays and there's going to be food and kids and family. You know what I mean? So creating a very calm environment that is supportive of you, where you feel amazing, and whether it be your home or your cottage or, different, whatever scenario is really comforting to you, because you're going to need that sense of safety and security while you're going through these really big changes. So also in line with the environment that you're going to create for yourself during your first 7 days is also, if you can slice out a 7-day chunk of time where you know that there's a lot of room in there for you to rest or, just have some quiet time for yourself. So I'm just going to put out some suggestions. If you have a full-time job, maybe structure it so that your day 2 to day 4 is falling on a weekend where you can sleep if you need to, or have naps, just kind of not seclude yourself, but just make sure that there's the least amount of stimulation as possible, because so many different things are going on. And if you can take like a Friday and a Monday off, that kind of thing, this is an investment into yourself. And I believe so passionately that if you do your 7 days, your strict protocol. You've done all your success work in from that booklet. It's just like an amazing launch pad. It's like rocket fuel. Okay, so yeah, if that's possible, to implement, as much time as possible to create that really safe, secure, gentle environment for yourself. So important. So some of the things that worked really well for me in that first 7 days were I am like a comfort creature kind of person. I love to be cozy. So I got out my favorite pajamas. I had my favorite pillows and my favorite blankets, and, just my comfort, physical comfort was just so important to me, because there are times you don't feel sick, but you just feel like, oh my God, your body is going through a massive change. So if that's something that, works well for you, then, and I think it's just really nice to have all your bedding super crisp and clean, and just, be able to relax in that environment where you feel so cozy. Another one that worked really well for me is I had really fancy bubble bath, because having a bath really is comforting and nurturing to me. And it's also therapeutic in the sense that, your body's going to be releasing a lot of toxins. So even something like Epsom salts works really well to clear out toxins. And then just outside of the physical comforts and on top of that, if you have these chunks of time, is to find ways to kind of detach from perhaps some of the physical discomfort that you may feel. So for me, it was movies and Netflix series, and in some of those, especially in that red zone, just being able to get lost in something other than that, oh my God, this is hard, oh my God, this is hard. It really does help. And a lot of times once I moved through the red zone, that 20 to 24 hour mark, and I had busied my mind, then it just shifts. For me, it shifted. So it was like a switch, and I felt I would feel great. And these waves are natural, but if you're not aware and you're blindsided by these intense feelings of hunger or just, distress, these are some things that you can put into place to just really help you navigate through those really challenging times. So another really good practical tip is to, once you know your start date, you've set up your environment, you have all your favorite things around you, is to also have prepared the drinks that you want to have during your alternate day fasting. I highly recommend and I advocate for a strict, clean, squeaky clean fasting protocol, especially in those first 7 days. Because if you've gone through 26, 27 hours, and then you add something that, there are some controversial things, or there's just lots of gray area about what you can consume. But if you've made it through, is it worth it to potentially knock yourself out of this fast that you just worked so hard for? For me, nothing. I wasn't going to risk anything. But, and so that's just a caveat. But, having lots of natural, fresh spring water on hand. I had stocked up on sparkling water. At that point, I wasn't a tea drinker, but I am actually starting to drink a lot more tea now, which is very soothing. I had stocked up on all my favorite brands of coffee. And I also had bought myself some special cups and different things like that. So having your space, wherever you're going to be, stockpiled with all these things. And it almost feels fun. Like, you're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. You go in and you've got 4 or 5 different choices of things that you can have in that moment. These are little things, but they went so far for me on my journey. And also, during your first 7 days, and this will shift and change, but kind of having a thought about what you do want to eat. A lot of people eat out, and that's the beautiful thing about alternate day fasting is you can eat what you want. But if you're coming from, say, a history of restrictive eating or constant dieting like I was excited to have, I really latched onto that, eat whatever you want. That is one of the things that brought me to alternate day fasting. Things have shifted and changed for me, but in those early days, I thought, oh, I want spaghetti with meatballs, or I want, bread and cookies, and, and I did. I enjoyed all that stuff. And in the first 7 days, I believe I lost 4.5 pounds or something like that. So I was so amazed because I knew what I was eating on my eat days. And I had kept my eating window really tight because I knew that about myself. I knew I wanted to eat all this stuff. And I knew what I could and couldn't do. So I kept my eating window open for 8 hours in those first early days, which was great for me because then I was free to eat whatever I wanted. And I did. So what I'm saying is if you can put together a list of things, or even go buy whatever it is that you're craving or you want, and you just like, that first week, from what I remember of that first week is I felt satisfied. I felt, whether it was emotionally satisfied or physically satisfied, and I didn't hold back. I ate as much as I wanted and what I wanted. And that was really, I went so far in the next 40 hours of that fast that I went through. And also keeping in mind when that, while I was in that next fasting phase, I would remind myself, as soon as I get through these 40 hours, I can have da-da-da-da-da, whatever it is, the things that I wanted in those moments. That went a long way. And to have that stuff on hand, or, structure it in a way that is safe for you. Some people say, don't put the food in the house, da-da-da-da-da. For me, I was okay. I wanted to know that when I was at that point where I could break my fast, I had the stuff I wanted right there. And so that worked for me. So just what I'm saying is put all those things in place that will work for you. So another thing that was really great for me, and I highly recommend this, is to compile a list of motivational material. And part of that motivational material is your success declaration. That will motivate you. That is you. But what I'm suggesting here is, on top of that, find people that you identify as somebody who has built what you want, or they're just like really influential people. I used to listen to these compilation videos of motivational speakers, and they would take bits and bobs of these different influencers and put it into this compilation. And it would just, it was like adrenaline. And it worked so well for me. And, I put it in, there was music, and it was like, you can do it, da 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 da, and all these like really hardcore statements. You won't get there if you fail, and that works for me. I am hardcore. It's like I needed my butt kicked. I didn't have any room left for messing around, so I went hardcore. So another great thing are to read books and listen to podcasts. And these also go with that, tip of, kind of detaching. But if you're detaching in a way that's going to fuel that energy that you've put into, getting through these 7 days, it's just like, you gotta like feast on that kind of stuff. I don't know how to stress enough. It was the stuff that kept me going. I just tuned out, got comfy, had all my little drinks and whatever I was going to eat on my fast or my eat day, and I just hunkered down. Again, going back to that, just finding that chunk of time that you can just be like really, that gives you as much opportunity for you to just kind of unfocus on other things and hyper focus on this journey for you. Another great strategy, and you can write this, you can think it, you can say it, you can just is go back to a time that you succeeded at something, that where there was a reference point for you, whether it's climbing a mountain, or maybe you ran a marathon, or you ran a 5K race. And because what you want to do, what this process is going to do is it's going to copy and paste that, all the sensations that came from you accomplishing this massive thing, and bring it into what you're doing today. And you're going to remember that I'll use my example. I have climbed this particular mountain 8 times. It's called the Grouse Grind. If you're from Canada, it's in Vancouver. Anyways, that first time I did that mountain, and it's a groomed trail, and actually there's steps that they've built in there, but it's 2,830 steps. I climbed that mountain the first time. I'm sure I cried part of the way up there. But when I reached that top, it was one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life. And I have that as a reference point that I use in so many areas of my life when things get hard. Because any process getting from A to B, some significant life change, or implementing some lifestyle that you want to live, you're going to face things, and you're going to face plateaus, and you're going to face euphoria. And that is what building alternate day fasting is. It's really that process. And it's the process. It's I know we all want to get to our weight loss goals. I do. I am so excited to get to that place. I can't even tell you. But having that reference for me, when things got so hard, I would remember, oh yeah, when I was on the mountain, and the thing with this mountain was, once you started going up, you couldn't go back down. They had groomed it in such a way that it was single file. So once you were on it, you had to go up. And that also worked for me, because I knew I could sit there. I took lots of rest breaks, but I knew that no matter what, I had to get up there, because then the only way down was on the trolley thing that goes back down the mountain, carries you like the elevator. So anyway, that was huge for me. I would remember, okay, Deb, you friggin' climbed this mountain. You can get through this next hour of this. I know. And I would have these internal dialogues with myself. And also, that is a significant thing about your success declaration. I know I'm going to hammer it home, because I truly believe that that is so important, along with all these other things. So then I also talked about the red zone, and that for me, and everybody's body is going to be different, but between the 20-hour and the 24-hour zone of your fast is, and I talk about this in one of my other videos about the process of how ghrelin works. And ghrelin is our hunger hormone, and it plays a significant role in the process of fasting. And so being aware of that, rather than just not knowing and fasting and then being hit with the overwhelming feeling of, there are things where your body's like, I'm starving. for each person, it's different. Those alarm bells are going to present themselves differently. But if you're like, I knew that. I was like, okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, this is happening because it's ghrelin. Or, oh, yeah, I understand that I feel tired because maybe my blood sugar is getting regulated. I needed to know. I couldn't just wing it. Yeah, so just educating yourself about the red zone. And here are some practical strategies about what you can do for yourself in the red zone. So for me, what I did was I drank a lot of sparkling water because it filled me up. Ultimately, it wasn't good for me because the gas bubbles or the carbonation was really, causing other things in my gut, but it made me feel full. And I drank a lot of it and it helped because there was at least some relief to that. Anyways, there's that. And so just make sure you have all your tools in place for when that red zone hits for you at whatever hour it's going to happen. And I don't know that it doesn't happen for everybody. It happens significantly for me, but just from other people sharing their story that, yeah, it happens. So preparation meets opportunity equals success. Yeah. So if you like this video, guys, hit like. If you'd like to see more information from me or just keep up with my weekly vlogs, I've been documenting my ADF journey since day one. Hit subscribe and thank you so much for watching. Take care.